So thanks for coming and thanks for listening in advance. So last week we talked about AOO, the art of observation. I won't do the howling noise again, although I might, who knows. So working with developing the skill, the capacity to observe ourselves. One of the big things in Dharma practice in meditation is, at least in meditation from a Buddhist perspective, is that we are using meditation to lead us to a deeper understanding of our experience, a deeper understanding of who we are. So the radical thing that we do is the first step is that we're turning our attention inwards. We're turning our attention inwards. So there's a world out there, and there's all types of stuff going on, and there's all types of people, and there's all types of situations. But what we're doing with the Dharma practice, what we're doing with mindfulness, with awareness, is we're turning that on ourselves. We're not paying so much attention on the outside as the cause of our problems, as the cause of our suffering. We're turning our attention on the inside. And we're looking at ourselves, and we're seeing what part we play in the manifestation of our world, in the manifestation of our experience. What part are we playing? That's a big step. It's a big step. And it can seem really difficult because it's the opposite of what we've been doing with most of our life. So we're learning to look. We're learning to look at our experience in a new way. So we're looking at the mind, we're looking at thought, we're looking at feeling, we're looking at emotion. We're actually looking at aspects of the phenomena that we call mind. And we're learning how to look. We're learning how to look in specific ways, if you will. Before we do that, we develop calm. We need a ground in which to be able to observe from. We need a ground, a place in which we establish the idea of the watcher. So we do that through the development of calm. And the development of calm is watching the breath, but it's also watching the mind and watching ourselves, seeing what it is that we grab onto, seeing what it is we push away. So the development of calm, the developing of finding that ground, that even space within ourselves to be able to watch and not get pushed around, we develop that through watchfulness, through observation, combined with a development of calm, combined with watching the breath. And we begin to be able to see what's taking place. We begin to be able to see, oh, that's the mind upset. Instead of being upset with a person or a situation, we develop the ability to look and just see that's the mind upset. We're able to feel the tone of that. We're able to feel that quality of mind. Because through awareness, we're not chasing thought. We're resting in this place of observation. The mind is, say the mind's upset, and we're looking at that quality of mind. We're looking at what that feels like. So that's a big part of when we're turning our attention inside. We're not just looking at thought, but we're looking at the underlying mental or emotional states of our being, of our minds. We're looking at how the mind feels. How does the mind feel when it's not grasping? How does the mind feel when it's calm and not particularly bothered by anything at all? We're observing that. And how does the mind feel when it's all caught up in some kind of reaction? We're observing that as well. How does the mind feel when it's really caught? And how does the mind feel when it really feels free? What's that experience? So we develop the capacity not only to be aware of the breath, we develop the capacity not only to be aware of thought, but we develop the capacity to be able to look at the underlying qualities of the mental states. And that's taking us deeper inside of ourselves. Because there's whatever the experience, there's thought usually with it, but thought is just an afterthought. But what's at the base of that? What's at the base of that? And if we can see what's at the base of that, if we're able to find that place to be able to be with that, then what does that do with our relationship to thought? What does that do with our relationship to the world around us? It changes it. It really changes it. When the mental state is there, whether it be a peaceful, loving, kind one, or an irritated one, or one that just feels really caught in something, that's the ground in which the thoughts are springing from. The underlying, what's more true is the underlying state that's there. That's the more true part of our experience, if you will. And it becomes a circle, right? The mental state comes up, thoughts come up, we grab onto thoughts, and then they feed the underlying state. Example I gave a while ago, if somebody's a complainer, if they're complaining all the time, what's their mental state? Irritated. They're irritated. And then the more they complain, the more we grab onto those complaining thoughts, the more that underlying irritation is fed. So we develop the capacity to be able to look and seeing and seeing this whole moment that's shaped. That's shaped by feeling, that's shaped by mental thought, that's shaped by thought. I meant to say mental state, I may have said mental thought. So we develop the capacity to look, and we see how each moment is being shaped. Whatever we think our experience is out there, each moment is actually being shaped by what's inside us. And that's a really powerful thing to see. Because if it's being shaped, it can be unshaped, right? If it's being shaped, we can understand the conditions that lead it up to the point of having that shape, of being shaped in that way. So the other part, or like another point, is Kalu Rinpoche, in his last incarnation, a great Tibetan teacher, he said, it's not an exact quote because I read it quite a while ago, but that the whole of the path towards freedom, the whole of the spiritual path, is simply moving towards the wholesome. Simply moving towards the wholesome. So we look at ourselves and we see what it is we're moving towards, what it is we are doing that is shaping our present moment. So that's what we begin to see. It's like there's a ground, and then there's this experience that pops up, this experience right here. But it's being shaped by all these factors. And we start to develop the wisdom, the insight to see what part we are playing in the shaping. So if it's being shaped through conditions, and some of them are beyond our control, but a big part of our experience is within our control because it's happening within our mind. So if we're being shaped by conditions, how real is the experience? Because if it was the same moment, but other factors were present, our experience would be different, right? So we're shaping it, we're influencing it. And we call that reality. And we allow it to exert a lot of influence. So our ability to see that shaping, to see that influencing, is directly related to our ability to be free in this moment. So to see that, we need calm and we need clarity. And the clarity comes about by the watching and not being pulled in by the narratives, not being pulled in by the experience, but being able to watch it, to witness it. And as the calm and clarity develop through basically non-clinging awareness, then we begin to see more clearly. When we can see more clearly, there's more calm. And when there's more calm, we can see more clearly. So the calm and the clarity, as we move towards that, become what starts to shape us. So the moving towards the wholesome is moving towards the calm, moving towards the clarity. But it's on a lot of different levels as well. You know, it's moving towards the wholesome is how we're spending our days, how we treat our bodies, how we eat, how we exercise. Do we get enough sleep? Do we have a good diet? Do we exercise? Do we get a good sleep? Are we giving our body a chance to be as healthy as it can be? That's a good first step. There's a show, there's a movie, a documentary on Netflix called Stutz. And it's I forget, it's an American actor, and he's a comedian, and he does a documentary on his psychiatrist in New York. It's pretty interesting. And the psychiatrist's name is Stutz, and I think that's what the documentary is called. But Dr. Stutz says, you know, the first thing he does with a patient who's suffering from mental illness or a lot of problems is he asks them if they're taking care of their bodies, how well they're treating their bodies. That's the place to start. And then how well are we treating ourselves? Who do we hang out with? What kind of people, what kind of situations do we put ourselves in? Are we hanging out with people that support moving towards greater calm and clarity, that support kindness, that support awareness, that support a healthy lifestyle? There's all different ways that we can move towards the wholesome. And it starts with our body, and then it starts with our activities, and then our speech. Are we moving towards the wholesome in our speech? What does our speech tell us about ourselves? When we speak, are we moving towards the wholesome? Are we moving towards openness, clarity, kindness, love? Or are we just speaking a lot of nonsense? Or do we have a lot of negative dialogues? You ever notice how people who like to indulge in negative dialogues, they find each other? They find each other. I always find that interesting. And then invariably at some point they can't stand each other. That usually happens. It's like, well, what did you expect? Your relationship is based on negativity. So we look for relationships, we look for lifestyle that is based on positivity, let's call it for now. We're moving towards the wholesome. So we have that ground. And then within ourselves, we're moving towards the calm and clarity. Within ourselves, we're looking at the mental states that come up. And we choose not to support the negative. We walk away, we let it go. In the Anapanasati practice, meditation on breath, we develop calm, we develop joy in the practice, and we move towards that. We move towards that. We move our minds towards that. We move our attention. We move our attention away from the habitual thought patterns, and we find that place of calm. We develop that quality of calm and joyfulness in the body. And we develop that. So through the development of the observer, through working with that quality, that aspect of awareness that's watching, we are moving ourselves towards the wholesome. We are observing what's taking place. We are observing how we are shaping our experience. And that's kind of that's the point I want to come back to. We move towards the wholesome in our lives, in our activities. But we move to that place within ourselves where we can develop the capacity to see very clearly how we're shaping ourselves, to see how we're shaping the present moment. And in some ways, just in that seeing, the wholesome comes through, the clarity comes through, as we see it. So as we move through the day, watch what you move towards, watch what you move away from, and watch how watch how you're shaping the present moment. Watch how you're shaping your experience. And if you're stuck in repetitive thought, if you're stuck in a certain mental state, really look at that. Let that be your object of awareness. Because when we can really see when we can really see that for what it is, and there's a tremendous opportunity for clarity to be. There's a tremendous opportunity for the new and the fresh to express itself. But if we're not seeing it, if we're not seeing the shaping, then we're just stuck in the patterns. We're just stuck in the patterns. And if we are watching, then there is a openness, and there's a lightness, and there's an expansiveness. That's there. That's there. Okay. Why don't we meditate now? And in the meditation, we work with the breath to develop calm. And then we feel the mind. We move away from thought. And we just observe what the quality of mind is, what the quality of the mental state is. Observe it, and then just let go. Just let go. And just relax into this open awareness that's there. But before we can do that, we have to have that quality of mind that is not being moved around by thought. So we develop calm. We watch the breath. We watch the breath until we have that sense of being calm, of not being moved around, of being able to observe what's taking place in the mind by not being pulled away from it. Sometimes we just have to stay with the breath. But what's shaping your experience? What's shaping this moment? So just rest in that. Work with that.